Right, we've got not just myself, SuperSquid, your boy, but also OMDalton, who's going to be joining us in the booth for the first time. Mr. Dalton, how are you doing this evening?
I'm good. Yourself?
I'm all the better for having someone to tag team with. And I tell you what, as I quote unquote commentator in training, why don't you do the intro today?
Okay, well, welcome, ladies and gents, to tonight's ART Academy Series race at the Autodromo Nazionale Monza, the Temple of Speed. We have 21 laps of racing for you tonight, with a lap distance of about 5.8 kilometers, that's 3.6 miles. The track tonight comprises of 11 turns, 7 to the right, 4 to the left, with the primary overtaking points being turns 1 and 2, the Rosvilo chicane, turns 8 through 10, that's Ascari, and turn 11, the Parabolica. The weather tonight, we've got SO1, that's sunny and clear skies throughout. There's light mechanical damage involved, so maybe a little bit of door banging, but any more than that and you might see some drivers start to struggle. The strategies though, we've got tyres set to ×3, fuel set to ×7. So the tyres likely to last the full race distance, but the fuel very much will not. I'm expecting either sort of a very conservative 2-stop or a more aggressive 3-stop for the strategies tonight. Drivers to look out for. Squid, who do you think the smart money's on tonight?
Well, firstly, I must say, for a first-time intro, that was absolutely smashing. Let's get some support in the comments from there, guys. Great job. I would say my money, again, will be on this man here, actually, Matt237, who ran away quite easily with the previous Academy race in the Renault Megans at Barcelona. So he's definitely got my money. If not for him, though, I did see this man here, ATC Dog, put in a 1:48.6 in the previous practice session, which I think was more or less on par with ART Lancaster, their coach for the evening. So I'd say Dog and Matt are my ones to watch. What about you, Dalton?
I would say keep a very close eye on Chris R390 tonight. This is his first race in the series, but he's a good friend of mine, and I know him to be a very, very quick driver. So he could give the guys at the top a run for their money tonight.
Excellent. I think before we get into any more big details, just remember, if you want to get involved with Amigos racing team, we're over 600 strong with a wide variety of leagues, special events and other exciting formats. Please hit the Discord link in the description below and get involved. Doesn't matter where you're from, what you drive on, age, gender, ability. We're all inclusive community, so please get involved any way you can. It'd be fantastic. We've got Sophie Brantz in the chat. They're saying good luck, Matthew Francis. You've got this. She's always in the chat for us, Matthew. If you're listening, you know she's got your back. Now, Dalton, you're talking quickly about strategies. We know fuel and tyres one today. You said the tyres should last the end of the race. So what can the drivers do to manage their fuel?
They can maybe consider short shifting a little bit. Now, usually with the red bar, the drivers use towards their shift points. In this car, you want to be shifting around 50-60%. That just helps to save some fuel a bit, maybe not rev the absolute hell out of it, and just basically conserve fuel wherever they can. If they can get a bit of slipstream, if they can be coasting some corners, just to really watch their fuel usage.
Sounds fantastic. If we one more, please. I've got a phone call coming in. You carry on.
That's fine. Yeah, I don't think we've mentioned the car that these drivers use tonight. I can tell you it's the Chevrolet Corvette C7. The Gr.3 model. Under the hood you'll find a naturally aspirated V8 engine producing it with BOP on 543 of your finest American brake horsepower. The car is quite light, weighing in at 1,300 pounds. We've got the racing medium tyres only, so that should hopefully help to maybe take some of the edge out of some of the sting out of the strategy. Help the drivers to focus on the driving tonight, while still giving them a good choice of options. That's good. Anyway, so just coming on board here with Matt237, who's leading the pack now down to Parabolica. Qualifying appears to have finished. It has drivers finishing their laps now, and this will decide the final qualifying order for tonight. Now let's see if Can Matt get some good power out of the parabolic? He can. The power nice and early. Up through the gears. What's his time going to be? It's going to be a 48.4. That will put him top by 6/10. Now what can ATC Dog say about that? He's coming through parabolic now. He's got Chris Char just goes ahead of him with a 48.6. Dog will not improve the 49.2, sorry. That leaves him in P3 at the moment with a 49.0. Belinsky will be in P4. Kakalele just comes along the line but will not improve. He stays P5. Matthew Francis also does not improve, stays P6. Urban Fire does improve, goes P4 with a 49.2.
I do apologise for the wait there. It's just my mum checking that I've remembered my nan's birthday tomorrow.
Oh well, I mean, you've got to deal with the family, right?
Yeah, well, that's, of course. I did remember his nan's birthday tomorrow. I've just got to grab her a card and some flowers. But it's all going to be good.
Yes.
Just that Urban up into P4, so that is a cracking quality for Urban Fire. Normally he finds himself mid to rear of the pack, so you'd have to see him at the front for a change.
Yeah, on the second row, it's a good qualifying for him.
Excellent, but you can see that Chris Char as well sent it all the way up to P2, only 2/10 off of P1, so a cracking lap there for Chris. But again, it's my guys Matt and Dog, first and third respectively. I think there's going to be a pretty intense turn one if they have their way.
Well, as we all know, it is Monza, and turn one, lap one can be something resembling chaos.
Yes, I'm aware a couple of years ago, I think Antonio Liuzzi had a novel way of taking the chicane.
Indeed. Just for our audience at home who may not get that reference, why don't you talk us through that? What actually happened there?
As far as I recall, Liuzzi decided that the grass was a much more efficient way of taking the chicane, and sideways at that.
Oh wow! Ah yes. the Tokyo style of going faster.
And I do just remember the ITV1 highlights coverage, the clip that's been chopped up into pieces on YouTube going, but Liuzzi had a novel, and it just disappears into obscurity.
Right, well, it would seem we've got a practice start being performed here, whilst we just wait for one more driver to join us.
Okay, so let's see then if we can maybe get a decent spectator angle. Maybe just how we might get an inkling to what turn one's going to look like.
So let's see what kind of chaos we can expect.
I've got to say as well, this beautiful field of blue and yellow.
It is a very nice livery that's been made for the drivers tonight. So we're underway with the practice start.
But a decent getaway from Matt there as well. He's really left Chris in the task by about half a second. But this is where it counts. Cold tyres, full tank of fuel.
Oh, I heard contact behind, and there was. It would seem Belinsky and Big Crazy Bertie having a go at each other, and
couple in the gravel. They've disappeared already. But not a bad practice start, I must say. If we get a couple more of those guys, might be in the clear.
If Matt can pull away like that again, I think he might be in for quite a fun evening.
I was going to say, probably a fairly lonely race.
Yeah. Still, it could be as lonely as you want. If you win, that's all that matters.
So I suppose just while we're waiting for the lobby to reset and for, I think it's waiting for Keeney to join the back of the grid, have you got any interesting factoids about Monza while we're here, Dalton?
Not off the top of my head, but I do very distinctly have the clip of I think it was a Formula 4 race that where it was two I think teammates going side by side into the Della Roggia chicane, followed by one of them promptly hitting a sausage curb and just taking off.
Yeah, I think that was that might have been through Parabolica, I think, as well. The same race, or maybe it's Formula 3, Formula 2, that a driver just unfortunately hit a sausage curb and just was ejected from the track.
Just exited stage up.
Pretty much. Yeah, that's one way of putting it. But of course, I think my most iconic Monza memory has to be Pierre Gasly's win a couple of years ago. It was a fantastic sight. Watch an incredible shake-up to the race. I think Carlos Sainz was right on his tail over the line. And
what did they just do?
What did we just do? Oh, it's beautiful. But I think my favourite part, you need to watch that with the French commentary, because the French commentators lose their minds.
Yeah, having seen that clip can confirm they get very loud.
It's just, it's in my mind, it's just Pierre Gasly! Pierre Gasly!
Pierre Gasly! Yeah.
Oh,
and then
incredible.
the following year as well was just a complete upset. We had the two, in 2021, we had the two title leaders crashing out, followed by what can only be described as one of the happiest days of my life, a McLaren 1-2.
That was also definitely another iconic race, another shoey, I believe.
Oh, yes.
So those of you watching at home, you haven't missed anything. We have had qualifying, but I believe we're just waiting on this man here, Mr. Keeney, who's just joining now. He's missed the qualifying, but we are going to start the race proper in just a few moments. We were mentioning it earlier that we're looking at Matt 237, ATC Dog, and Chris R390 is perhaps our main challengers. But of course, feel free to put in the comments, who do you think is going to go home with a race win tonight? Again, we're looking at 21 laps here at Monza. We know Matthew Francis has perpetually got support in the comments, which is lovely to see. But if you're any outside, or any dark horses, I should say, please put them in the comments below. Who do you think is going to take home the win? Dalton, have you been racing any series recently?
I was in the TCR series, the season 2 of that just finished recently.
And how did that pan out for you?
Aside from the couple of races that I missed because family stuff happened, it went quite well, especially in the last round. I managed to get, I think it was my first win.
Oh, fantastic!
Quite nice.
Is that your first win in ART, or was that your first win for the series?
I think it was my first win in TCR, like across both series.
Okay. Well, we've got Hoppers in the comments there as well, saying I think he's got Matt down for first place. Who else did he say there?
Matt 237 or
yep.
Matthew Francis?
Matt 237, Urban second, and Bertie third. Linsky is also in the race. He says to watch out for big crazy Bertie. So that will be someone to keep an eye on, I guess, as the race evolves.
Yeah, I know Big Crazy Bertie is one of our newer members of our community, but he's certainly no slouch.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, definitely got some pace on him. And I think he's normally maybe not quite so fast in the quali, but does seem to have really good race pace and strategy. So that will be one to watch as maybe we get through our first round of pit stops. But looks like we're about to get underway now, so I think I'll leave to you then, Dalton, to take the race start.
Alrighty then. Let's just get into here. There we go, and we've got the lights ready to go. All the drivers on the grid. Matt 237 on pole, leading us away. Here come the lights. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. And we're underway. Matt does get a good launch, but Chris Charles alongside him gets a better one. Dog seems to fall away from the pack a little. Chris Charles and Matt going side by side into turn 1. This could get interesting. On the brakes now, coming in, and Chris just seems to yield a little bit there. Got ATC Dog going wide onto the runoff. And yeah, Matt has just pulled away about 1.25 seconds already.
That is a great getaway from Matt there. Perhaps maybe Chris Charles knowing that you can't win the race at turn 1, so he's allowed Matt to get away, but given a bit too much ground there. Matt with 1.3 seconds in hand as we get into the first chicane. We've got Chris Charles in P2. Bertie is ready back up in the P3. Linsky up in the 4th, but he's side by side with Chris Gr.3 in the first chicane. And Chris goes at the inside though. So he's up in the P4 and Linsky down to 5th. We got Voodoo, our only American on the grid there, in P6. Matthew Francis in 7th, having a sneaky look up the inside, trying to scare the American, but that's not happening here. Dog, what happened to Dog at the start, do you think, Dalton?
I don't know, I think he just seemed to bog down and didn't really get away well.
I can see some rear left damage on that car as well, so perhaps maybe a bit of contact. heading out chicane into the gravel. I could only assume is putting down so many places. But he's got a massive climb in his hands there. Tiddlywink down in P9, and he's going around the outside. Oh no, had to brake there.
Just thought better of it.
Very close move there. You can see the gap there. I think it's a gap from P4 all the way up to P3. Can you check that, please, Dalton, while I'm looking at the back?
Gap P3 to P4 is 2.2 seconds.
So it's already getting hectic there. They're almost 3 wide, actually, heading down the back straight. Tiddlywink, a little nudge there. Matthew Francis almost spun him out, but they had to give away the distance there. Matthew Francis got up into P7. Tiddlywink at the inside of Dog for P8 and 9 respectively. And I think Sergeant Colon wants to get in the mix here as well, but he's not had the best exit. Now, while we're here as well, we'll have a look on board with Mr. Tiddlywink, just how important that slipstream might well be. You can see he's 3.5 tenths back, maybe 4 tenths at the start of the straight. It is rapidly closing. Oh no, he's gone straight through instead. Big contact. Tiddlywink in the grass.
Contact. And he gets reset before he can collect Chris.
Very fortunate there, but you can see the slipstream probably going to gain you the best part of 2 to 3 tenths down the main straight there, but a bit too much there for Tiddlywink, I think.
Indeed. But after just one lap, Matt237 has managed to extend his lead at the front to 3.6 seconds. He's really running away now.
And I think Big Crazy Bertie as well, as mentioned by Nalinsky and Hockers, up into P2 already, so now I have to see if his race pace is going to be indicative of where they think he'll finish. Chris Charles well doing very well up into P3. Now a massive gap back to P4. What have you got in this train behind them, Dalton, in P4?
In P4, we've got Chris. Immediately behind him is Nalinsky. Then there's a huge jaggle of cars following them. Voodoo, we've got Dog and Matthew Francis side by side going down to Rallyo. Something's going to happen here. Voodoo has a penalty. And Matthew Francis will just about get ahead of ATC Dog. Sergeant Colon just having a look here in the pound seats.
Now I think it's nice to see there Matthew Francis, knowing Voodoo's got a penalty, so not forcing him up the inside. He did try that in the TCR, and it didn't work out very well for him, but I think now maybe he raced a bit more of his head than his heart, and that should give him guaranteed P6. Maybe perhaps he can possibly use Dog to use Voodoo to block off Dog heading down the straight, and I think that's what he's tried to do. He's had to keep Dog behind him.
Dog still had just too much of an overspeed there and has gone past Voodoo.
I think someone's run wide at the last corner.
Ran wide at Parabolica. Now he's under pressure from Urban Fire, who's coming up the inside and will make the pass coming down onto the main straight.
I'm going to shove forward a bit though, because we can see it's getting very bunched up towards the middle of the pack. I think Dog might go for that with Matthew Francis now. He is looking towards the inside. He's passed in the braking zone. He's very, very late on the brakes. Just about avoiding the Linsky as well.
Come back at him though, but ATC Dog does keep the position.
Fair race for Dog, and in fact,
move, but he's actually putting Nalinsky under pressure now.
This could be a clean move around the outside. I think it might well be if we jump on board there from behind Chris. He is ahead, sweeps around the outside of Curva Grande.
He's done really well there. Two places in 2 corners.
So it's like Chris Arthur United there doing very well in P4. A healthy gap towards Chris Char in P3, but Dog is really starting to reel these guys in now. You can see the huge traction he's got out of the first chicane there. Took about 2 tenths out of Chris just on the chicane's exit, and we might well see another move heading up towards the Scari.
Matt237 now though, in 6.3 seconds ahead, but he's down a bit on fuel, so I wonder if he's pushing aggressively to start.
He might well be. Well, as we mentioned earlier, we'd only need about 6,000 revs in this Corvette to get the most out of it, and over revving the car is only going to waste your fuel without any gains to power or torque. So Matt may well have compromised this race over revving the car, even if to gain this incredible lead is ascertained already just in the first 3 laps. Meanwhile, Dog though, you can see he's right at the back of Chris R390. Does he go for the move now?
He is, and he's going to have him clean ahead by the time we get down to Parabolica.
And just behind as well.
Maybe having a look at the late break, but no.
Just behind Matthew Francis there has tried to cut across Nalinsky, but I think Nalinsky has done a very snazzy over and under on him, and he will take P6.
David Croft losing his mind.
Indeed, the old switcheroo. It never gets old, but Matthew Francis...
but here back comes Matthew Francis though.
Tearing up the inside, easily makes the slipstream pass there. I think Nalinsky again, I don't think he's using automatic gears, but that means he's revving to the top of the rev cage there, and there's no power to be found up there at all. And Matthew Francis flies past, very deep into the braking zone there, but gets it stopped and reclaims P6.
Slight switch though on the exit of 2 from Matthew Francis.
A little bit of a twitch there. His car, again, a very flat torque curve all the way through the rev range. So there's ounces of power wherever you put your foot down, but you've got to be careful you do it in the right places.
Yeah, as you said, that torque curve seems to drop off quite heavily towards the upper ends of the rev. Why these drivers should only really be rev upshifting about 50-60%.
Not even that. I think about a quarter is probably enough.
Yeah, Matthew Francis really short shifting.
And again, as we said, as we said, the fuel is going to be the decisive factor. These tyres may well go the entirety of the race, so it will be purely just for fuel that these guys are stopping for today. But who's going to manage it best? Again, it might be worth not going for the overtake, sitting in the slipstream, letting maybe a faster driver drag you along just a little bit. Zielinski, I think, had a sneaky look at the inside of Matthew Francis, but to no avail. So we might well see our first few pit stops coming within the next 3 to 5 laps, I would say.
Indeed, Matt's advantage at the front now, 7.4 seconds, but that fuel delta that he's got, he's down about 5% compared to everyone else. That might come back to haunt him.
Yeah, we can see, if you look at Chris Chow in P3, he has got exactly half a tank of fuel. Matt is a couple percent lower, which might well be 1 lap or so's worth of fuel if he's pushing too hard.
Indeed, that's an extra, well, 1 lap here, if you're being quite conservative, will take you about 14% fuel tank. So that 5% could be maybe even as much as half a lap towards the end of the race.
We see things getting very feisty there in the first chicane. Matthew Francis, again, very sideways, keeps it safe on the exit, but Zielinski is now looking for a way past. Matthew Francis does yield to the outside line, but Zielinski had that penalty, I think, just before he crossed the line, so he'll serve that later this lap. But I think, again, Zielinski not being able to use the Corvette's gearing to its most effective means he's actually losing time to Matthew Francis on the exit of that corner, and I think Voodoo is next in line to try and swat him up. Again, Matthew Francis not doing so well out the corners, but Zielinski cannot put his foot down in the right places. Do you think possibly he's actually on a different fuel map?
A little bit of contact between Zielinski and Matthew Francis. Matthew Francis actually goes a little bit wide.
He is very close. I'm trying to keep this rear view camera just while they're going through Lesmos 1 and 2. And again, Zielinski is really dropping back now at the corner, so I'm thinking where he's not using the manual gears, he may be in a lower fuel map just to try and save some more fuel. But Voodoo is now almost alongside him as well. This could be very close into Ascari. They are side by side in the braking zone.
But he may be in a lower fuel map, but all of that over revving is costing him with fuel. He is down on fuel compared to people around him.
He's down on fuel and he's sideways out the corners, yeah.
And he will now serve that penalty, and he does so. And that will allow Voodoo to get past him, and as does everyone else behind him, Kakalele and Zielinski as well, as contact as the passes are made.
I think Kakalele almost forgot about checking his mirrors there as Urban Fire was almost swiped out onto the grass. He's still alive and kicking there in P10, but again, this massive train of cars down here from about P5 backwards are all trying to find their place. I think those guys now go for that move, P10, but let's see what's happening there.
There's such a difference in power. They have equal machinery, but if they're on different power maps, it's going to show it in the straights, which, let's be honest, this track pretty much is entirely composed of.
Zielinski very kind in the comments, letting us know that he's on auto gears. We've got Inter Milan FC Esports, if that is Inter Milan, and blimey, we've reached some people there, but wow. Cheering on Urban Fire, of all people. So good job there, Urban Fire. You've got some internationally acclaimed support, it seems.
That is quite the support to have, if that is real.
Right, well, it's like in the lead there, Matt337 is still running away with it. 8.5 seconds gone, as Kaz in the comments are saying, good luck, lads, the cars look quality. They do indeed look for business. And I believe that's another Urban Fire specialty, or maybe a Hockers. I can't quite remember. But Hockers, if you're watching, please let us know who designed deliveries. Big shout out to them. Anyways, there, Matt, 9 seconds in the lead.
As always. Yeah,
we've got
Matt,
Bertie.
Goes purple through sector 2 as well, so he's really on another flyer.
Bertie there in P2, he's got about 9 seconds either side of him there. So Bertie really is doing the bits that Hocker said he would as well, as is Dog, still holding his own in P3, but Chris Char is still keeping him in touching distance there. Only 8 tenths or so back, and crucially within the slipstream, which is all important around here.
Indeed. Now Matt has gone round for another one. He is quite low on fuel. I think he might just make it. but he has been pushing very aggressively throughout here.
See what? I'd say he's probably got about 10% left there in the tank, so he should get him around for one more lap. But compared to people behind him like Bertie and Dog, he might want to lose a couple of seconds in the pits. I think it's 3 litres per second. So that's probably going to cost him maybe about a second or two in the pit lane on its own.
Yeah, like for a full tank of fuel, the time lost in the pit lane is about 35 to 40 seconds. It's a lot to lose. So every single litre, every single kilo of fuel you hold on is just time saved.
It is liquid gold around here with the format we've got here, and you need to make sure you're saving every last drop as much as you can. I think Chris Charles, one of the guys, doing a really good job of fuel save. You can see actually on his fuel delta, he's only just dropped down into a quarter of a tank remaining, so he's going to have a massive gain on the drivers in front of him when the first round of stops are made, which I think is probably going to be this lap, if not the next one.
Indeed, and because he's going to be able to stop later, it means his later stops will be able to take on less fuel, which is going to save him time in the stop, and he's going to have a lighter car, so it's going to save him time going around the track as well. So that could play back into his hands.
We've got Inter Milan FC Esports commenting there. He said, I wish this was Inter Milan Esports, but actually it's Dawes. So good evening, Dawes.
Oh, hey, Dawes.
Nice to see you there, buddy. Again, we're sorry you're not with us for commentary, but we're really glad you're tuning in. Matt there is just in the pit lane now with 1% fuel, so he did about scrape it as we predicted. But compared to the guys around him, he's not going to be looking very happy when he sees their fuel percentages.
With 4%, Dog now coming round the parabolic does peel into the pit lane. 5%.
Char is also going to dive in. Oh no, he's leaving. Yes, he's staying on there. My bad. So he's probably got, I'd say, about another 12%, I'd say, in the tank left there. He's doing very well for himself.
He's got another lap in him.
Do you think he's got enough for the one stopper? I don't think he has.
I don't think he has. I don't think he won't be able to get away with the one stopper.
If you look at his lap times though, running in the 52s, 53s, so Matt is pulling out about 3 seconds a lap on him.
As Matt comes out of the pit lane now, the delta between him and Chris Char looks to be about 22 seconds.
But the thing is, you see that he's lapping in the 49s consistently. Chris Char is lapping in the 52s, 53s. So that 3 or 4 second delta every single lap, I think we're quite likely to see Matt still keep the lead after this round of pit stops.
I think so, yeah.
And even when it gets to the end of the race, I think it'll still be fairly easily in Matt's favour if he keeps his pace up.
I think even if Chris does underfuel in the pit lane, and maybe only takes on 2/3 of a tank, that's still going to be more than enough time for Matt to be past.
Oh, I don't want to cut you off. Someone has just gone off in the gravel there. I think that is Mr. Tillywink, maybe leaving the pit lane. He's trying to rejoin, still sideways.
Matthew Francis.
But is a massive gaggle of cars. Matthew Francis also just leaving the pits there, but a massive gaggle of cars, I think, from Chris R390, P5 downwards, all entered and left the pit at exactly the same time. And Tillywink was just the one person that caught it wrong, leaving the first chicane.
Over the sausage curbs though into the second chicane. And there's going potentially even 3 wide into the Lesmos.
And Chris loses 2 places. That's not what he wants to do there. He had a decent first stint, but now you see he's trying to lift off and make sure these guys maybe can fight among themselves and he'll pick up the pieces, but not the best start to the second stint for Chris R390, especially his Tillywink, who was all kinds of sideways, is now on the back of his train as well.
As Chris Char now does finally pull into the pit lane.
So I'm going to stick with these guys just as they head through into the Ascari chicane. If you can let me know maybe what happens with Matt 237 as he crosses the start-finish line.
So he's coming across the line now, and Chris has only just started fueling.
Oh, it's going to take a little while there. Chris R390 and Tillywink are still side by side. In fact, Kakalele is going to be the difference maker there. Chris trying to force Tillywink behind Kakalele so he can't make a pass, but that gives Tillywink the slipstream. Kakalele still got P6, Tillywink keeps P7. Done a little bit wide, but Chris is going to sneak up the inside. Oh, he's dirty out there, Tiddles, you can't stay there.
There's all the marbles out there. But yeah, Chris has the slipstream now though, and Tillywink I think is going to lose out unless Kakalele pulls across.
Now, if I were Kakalele, I'd pull across and make sure those teams keep fighting among themselves. In the meantime, Bonnie Bowers said hello as well. He says Speed and Power's the way. PM10 and Nick Baker both saying hello in the chat. Good evening, guys. Hope you're both well.
Good evening, everyone.
It looks like that Chris is still having to settle to keep Tiddlywink at bay here. So it's pretty hard racing for these guys here. And you can see, is that P4 Urbanfire not very far away either.
Yeah, he's got Chris Child right behind him, though. Matt at the front has managed to pull out 13 seconds nearly to Big Crazy Bertie, who himself is nearly 8 seconds ahead of ATZ Dog. The front of the pack is starting to get really quite spread out now.
So it seems that these drivers are now starting to find their race pace and find their comfort zone, and of course we know that they're trying to avoid any mistakes here. With the ART Academy program, we want to get these drivers into team versus team events or kind of other regional international competitions. I believe we're entering community team racing within the next few months. That's an exciting prospect as well, and hopefully I'll be streaming some of that, maybe as a driver, maybe as a commentator. We'll have to see as that unfolds. But here, these guys are looking to maybe make the jump up into the team, having started in a couple of our leagues, such as our Progression League or our TCR League, as the Urbanfire's taking part in our Lawn Mowing League and our Barrier Crashing League. It's very unfortunate there. He's in the wall, as he often finds himself.
And he's driving the wrong way as well now. Just waiting for everyone. I see. Just waiting for everyone to go.
Let's make sure that is a fairly safe rejoin there as the colon flies by, but serves a penalty. Seems to be a close one into Parabolica possibly. But yeah, of course, if you want to get involved, please hit our Discord link in the description below.
Yeah, if anyone else wants to join, we'd be more than happy to have you. More the merrier.
Nick Beck is saying that was a good one. Dawes there saying no Urban. I think you probably know by now, Dawes, that's not how you do it. But it's something if you catch it on stream. It's one of those, just one of those moments.
Yeah, I wasn't aware Corvette sold lawnmowers, but here we are.
Well, I think these American cars, they often find themselves find it quite hard to turn corners. I think Urban's just done that. Has Play Dutchy. He's in the chat there. Urban with the facepalm emoji. Dutchy, you've taught him so well.
The student has become the master, I see.
Indeed. Well, we have to wait for Jedi Master No Hassle to have his say on this first, I think.
Oh, these are not the drivers you're looking for.
Absolutely not. Well, not if you want to make them in the team. So look, 'cause I think there's still a bit of a train forming just up ahead there. Chris Offrey 19 P7. He's got Matthew Francis and Alinsky for company, and just ahead of him, Voodoo, I think it's right on the back of Kakalele. Oh, Chris Charles, sorry.
Alinsky just getting a poor exit out of Lesmo 1 there, getting a little detached from the back of Matthew Francis. Who's now going round the outside here, has a look at Chris, R390, but just thinks better of it, going down towards Scari.
I think Matthew Francis, it's good to see him maybe considering these moves and then deciding if they are on, or if it's more better to not make that pass. We know in the past Matthew Francis, hopefully it wouldn't take offence to have been maybe told that he'd driven a bit rashly in some instances and thinking a bit more of the short term rather than long term. But I guess he knows here, but at least he keeps in touch with Chris R390. There's a chance that a slipstream pass into turn 1 and keep in that place for most of the lap to come. So hopefully we'll see a textbook overtake within the next couple of seconds as he stays within that slipstream and he's reeling him in now. 4 tenths at the top of the straight. Let's see how it is at the end.
Down now, 3.5 tenths, down to 3 tenths. Well, have a look here going into the rest of the game. What's Chris going to do? Is he going to try to defend? No. Matthew thinks better of it and backs off.
Yeah, he does. We saw just a little lift there as they head into the braking markers. Maybe he's trying to pick his braking spot, knowing the slipstream. He's going to carry him a little bit further. Getting a little bit sideways out the exit of turn 2 there, but still keeping Chris R390 in touching distance. Alinsky not far back either.
Yeah, Matthew Francis there just sort of seems to step on the loud pedal a bit too heavily coming out of turn 2 there. The car didn't like it, switched on him, and he got a 4-hour exit as a result.
No, that's the thing with these are kind of big, throaty and meaty V8s from the States. With supercharger or not, all the power seems to be at the very bottom of their range, which is great for fuel economy, or I suppose if it's not a 6.2 litre V8, but not so great for traction out of corners.
Yeah, all of that power all at once is going to definitely be good tyres complaining.
I think that's cost him some time around the lap as well. He's lost time there to Chris R390, and Alinsky was about to reel him in, but again, just losing that time down the straight where he cannot afford to.
Indeed, but coming through Ascari now though, Voodoo up in P6 is staring is breathing down the neck of Chris Char. The 7/10 gap now, but the slipstream that's going to come way, way down.
But crucially as well, I noticed they're a very short shift there up at the 6th. So it's good to see that Voodoo as well has been taking on the tips from our kind of academy tutors like Langster, Dutchie's in the chat here as well. And I think Voodoo's by far and away one of our most improved drivers since taking on a spot in the academy. So hopefully we'll see him put that to proof now as Chris Shard defends to the inside. In fact, he's going to lift off. Maybe he's not going to go for that move just yet.
Just thought better of it for now. Maybe teeing up a move either later in the lap or in a later lap.
Exactly, or perhaps maybe he's trying to wait for Chris to make the mistake because there'll be no need to force an overtake.
He tipped one tyre onto the gravel coming out of turn 2, and I think Voodoo's got a way better exit as a result.
He has,
could well have him coming down into
no, he's still lifting. He's still lifting. So maybe waiting for a slipstream opportunity. I'm not too sure, but I think with only about 9 laps to go, Voodoo probably has to start considering maybe being a bit more brave on the overtakes. Because Chris Char has got a heck of a lot more fuel than him. So if he doesn't make that pass now and hold him up, I think that massive fuel gain he's had earlier is going to put pay to his race. As Chris goes wide though.
Voodoo here does get a much better exit though, but still thinking better of it. At some point he's got to make a move, or he's just simply going to run out of road. Absolutely,
and Chris R390, even though he has got the Linsky in his rearview mirror for company, I think we still have to consider for Voodoo that if he doesn't make that pass, he's going to have to end up with a 4-way fight for P5. He'll be looking backwards as much as he's looking forwards. Still not going for that move into Ascari. Just bedding the throttle though on his way out, keeps it tidy off that AstroTurf.
Getting very close to comfort for Ascari. Nolinsky gets himself a half-second penalty.
Did he run wide at the end there?
Possibly. I think he might have just clipped the inside curb, turn 10, the exit of Ascari a bit too much.
Nick there thinking that Voodoo is lifting off to keep Chris under pressure, but Tyler there saying move it or lose it. He said Voodoo is definitely too far back to consider a lunge up here. We might though see a move from Nolinsky possibly, or even from Tiddlywink, who's reeling the pair of them in.
No, he thinks better of it.
Tiddlywink's going for it though. Nolinsky I think's lifted off. In fact, he's at the top of the rev cap. He's smashing the top of 5th gear. Nolinsky's later on the brakes though, trying to match Tiddlywink nose for nose, but Tiddlywink just by a hair. Yeah, excellent. Next one up the road then for him is Chris R390. These two ahead though, Voodoo and Chris, still almost inseparable. Dutchie there has got to check out now after spending his chat talking rubbish. Voodoo is still lifting off. He's not going for that pass yet. Don, what do you think is going through his head?
I don't know. I'm not sure whether it's sort of a little bit of fear of, oh, if I go for a move, I could punt Chris off, or I don't know, or if he's maybe teeing something up later on. But if this were me, and I knew I had the pace to pass Chris, I'd be going for it.
Absolutely. I think maybe Voodoo, so with all the improvement that he's made, I think he's still trying to be a little bit more considerate and safe. But you can see there, since the last lap, Chris has reeled them in by a whole second. So he's got to make a move sooner rather than later.
I think he's going to go for a move down into Ascari. He's alongside, and he's now ahead.
Does he get it stopped? Oh no, he's gone
into the gravel.
Oh no, and and that's a big crash as well. Nolinsky as well. Oh, sorry, Tiddlywink, sorry. But that is pretty bad there. So unfortunately, Voodoo, with all his exuberance and keenness, has unfortunately cost us more places.
I think the stewards might have to take a look at that one.
Quite possibly. We've got Dog there saying evening Dog. Oh, so B19 evening, Dog for the win. Nick thinks that's an illegal re-entry. Tyler wants to know about the fuel in the top 3. Let's have a look at the top 3. As Matt is still 11 seconds off the lead. Matt's got just under a quarter tank remaining. So I'd guess that's another lap or 2. Bertie's probably only got 1 left, I'd say.
Yeah, I'd say Matt will probably go maybe 1 more next time by. But Bertie and Dog will absolutely be boxing this lap.
Yeah, so they are very low. So Dog's fuel, they're just ticking at the reds. That's his last 10%. Before he has to coast his way into the pit lane, so he should make it back for a final stint. But Matt, though, I was surprised. He's been pushing really, really hard for that first stint. Maybe he started to save and realise what was happening in the second one. You see that big lifting coast into the chicane.
I'm just going to interrupt you here. We've got Chris Char and Chris R390 coming through the second chicane. Nose to tail. Chris has made some real progress after getting well, getting away from his shadow, shall we say.
Yeah, he's definitely escaped Mr. Tiddlywink and Lelinski.
Well, after Tiddlywink got collected. And now Chris Char is really under pressure here from this R390, who's got all the slipstream all the way down to Ascari, and is going to have a big speed advantage. Chris Char pulling to the inside, does cut across, and Chris R390 may feel like he's been blocked there.
Yeah, there was a big lift there as well. I saw maybe trying to avoid excessive contact, but I did feel like there was a little bit of a bump there as Matt and Bertie put into bits there. Matt now with the big fuel advantage. You see there, he's got probably another lap of fuel in the tank there, so he'll probably be filling up, I'd say, to about 90%. That should take him the rest of the way. Dog just about getting in by a skip of his teeth.
Kakalele, he's in the red on his fuel, but he's got about 8-9% left. Chris Char, plenty of fuel. He's got about 30% of his tank. He won't need to stop for another 2 laps at least.
So see, as Chris Char will take the lead.
Does pull into the pit lane.
Yeah, I think you're probably right there. Probably I'll say on the nose that Chris Char's going to do this lap and maybe one more, and then do a quick 5 lap stint at the end. So I'm very well saving that fuel. But again, being in the 152s, 53s, it's probably not worked out as well for him because he's not going to be saving, I don't think, another 3 seconds a lap. As he almost loses it at the exit of turn 2.
You were saying about Matt 237 being able to underfuel. He hasn't his fuel to full.
He has, but I guess now he's going to guarantee that he's got a chance to make to the end. But also, you see here, that race pace that he's pulled out over Chris Char for the course of that race, 3 seconds a lap. We're looking at 45 seconds pretty much across the race. That means he's the pit stop in hand with only 2 seconds back.
And he's been super consistent as well with his lap times. He's been, in the last few laps, including the pit stop, he's done a 50.6, a 50.4, a 50.9, 50.8. He's been super consistent all the way through.
There's been a big discussion in the comments here about I think Voodoo's re-entry. They're not very happy with that in the comments, saying that or V12 saying that that was an illegal entry, agreeing with Nick Baker. Lelinski, I think, getting a message in while he's in the pit saying it was a very scary thread in the needle, and V12 telling him to get back to racing.
But yeah, I think the stewards will almost certainly have a look at that one.
Well, we are back to racing, but the only big battle going on, I think, here is battle for P8, 9 and 10, if you want to have a look at this one, Dalton.
Even Voodoo and P7 may well get dragged into this. Sergeant Colon, whilst he's having a look behind him to other fire, he's making good progress towards Voodoo.
You see the Tiddlywink just feathering the throttle there through Lesmo 1, not to be confused with Degna 1, which is a slightly different part of the world.
That is in Suzuka.
It is indeed. There are 2 double right-handers that everyone gets confused. Which one do you think gets more confusing, the Lesmo Degna situation or the Eau Rouge and Radion situation?
Definitely Eau Rouge Radion.
And which one is which?
Eau Rouge is the one at the top of the hill. Sorry, the bottom of the hill. See? There we go. Getting confused already. And the one at the top of the hill. That's Radion, actually.
Indeed it is. Radion being the French for Big Hill, as far as I remember. That's the one I remember.
Yeah, as far as I'm aware, that is, yeah. I'm sure if we're wrong, someone in the chat will correct us, but...
Well, someone's probably going to tell us that the one at the top of the hill was 130R. It jeopardised their race. Chris Char finally